Today we're talking about Chapter 5, Developing Working Relationships. It's kind of a long chapter, and as you can see, teamwork. Okay. Uh, what do I need to tell you? I need to tell you that you need to get your character, think about your characters. Don't forget, I don't want you to create a character that has the same or similar problems that you have or have had in the past. If you have recovered from something and you think, well, it's not going to bother me, the reality is, yeah, it will. There's always a possibility of relapse. And especially if you're trying to act like you did when you had that problem. So stay away from anything that you've any problem you've ever had or any problem that anybody close to you has. Say if your significant other has depression or panic attacks, that's not a good idea. It's not a good idea. You'll start identifying with your significant other, at least their problems, and that's not a good idea. Now we've got two people with the same problem. Whatever. Okay, so think about it. The history for that you would have to fill out if you were going to a clinic to be counseled. It's on the website. It's on the whatever. It's on Blackboard under. I think it's the fourth one down. It's right under office hours, and that's what you need to fill out. It's fairly simple. It's a DOCX form, so you should be able to fill it out on your computer. No problem, or no problemo, as they say in Spanish. There we go. Okay, so Chapter 5, Developing Working Relationships. Practitioners should begin a professional relationship by determining how they will present themselves and how they will behave. It is important for the practitioner to set aside their personal feelings and concerns in order to fully focus on their client. And if you're not fully focused on your client, then you're cheating them out of a counseling session. It is important that a practitioner accepts and understands the client's beliefs, their perceptions, their stereotypes, their biases, their prejudices, their life experiences. It's not your job to change their beliefs or to change their perceptions or to change their stereotypes or their biases or their prejudices and tell them that their life experiences aren't important. That's not your job. Your job is to listen to them, who they are and what problems they're having, and go from there. The core interpersonal qualities that a practitioner brings to a relationship include warmth, respect, and if you don't respect your client, if you've got a client that you hate, if once you start counseling and you get a Billigana a client and you've always been told that the Billiganas are the enemy, then you don't respect that person and you can't counsel them. You need to be able to respect everybody. If you can't do that, then you're in the wrong field. You need to do something else. Genuineness, who you are, and you need to project who you are. Empathy, if you don't have empathy, you got another problem. And of course, acceptance. You need to accept who they are. One of the toughest things I ever did was counsel a man who was a pedophile. Real easy to hate this guy. He was not a very nice person. He thought he was smarter than everybody else. And actually, he'd gotten away with his pedophilia for a long time. But he was in jail when I was dealing with him. If I hadn't been able to go into the prison and counsel him with respect and warmth and genuineness and empathy and acceptance, we never would have gotten anywhere. And as a matter of fact, he assumed that we weren't going to have any of that, and he was very surprised when I was able to project warmth, respect, genuineness, empathy, and acceptance. Sorry, I was getting a drink. Trust can be developed by being understanding or empathic, listening attentively, and showing respect. Warmth, being kind and accepting in a non judgmental way. An expression of warmth that in one culture may be perceived differently in another culture. And this is something that you need to be real careful of. I had a colleague who was from Canada. The Canadians, of course, are very Eurocentric. They think of themselves as Europeans. Europeans, at least the English, and of course Canada used to belong to England. The English have a large personal space, and I'm of English extraction myself, and I'm from Indiana. In Indiana, we have a large personal space. It's really kind of interesting when the two of us were talking to each other because we'd yell at each other from across the room, and we were comfortable with that. Getting any closer made us a little, it didn't feel right. Anyway, so there you go. Cheek touching is commonly used to show warmth in many cultures around the world. And actually, when I was up in Montana, the Plains Indians, working on Fort Belknap, they like to hug. They're huggers. But here, that's relatively rare. You need to really like someone. You need to really be potentially related to that person before you hug. It's up there. Everybody hugs. Everybody hugs. It's just a big hug fest every time uh, people will get together, especially at powwows and whatnot. Everybody's hugging everybody else. Empathy is the ability to understand another person's emotion. My point is, you need to be careful. I had a good friend up there who was Navajo, and old Dave. He was married to a Grovon, but he um, if you tried to hug him, he kind of put his hand on your shoulder and tell you that he didn't want that to happen. He was kind of an interesting fellow. Really, really sweet guy. Really, really nice fellow. Empathy is the ability to understand another person's emotions, feelings, thoughts, and behavior from that person's viewpoint. As we attune to another person's internal state, a feeling of being connected develops. Being empathic involves having the willingness and flexibility to put yourself in the other person's reality. And of course, that is the hard part, is discovering what their reality is and accepting that reality is different from yours. Empathy is understanding assumptions, beliefs, and/or worldview. Empathy requires understanding another person's subjective experience while maintaining the capacity to differentiate from that person. Empathy is not the same as pity or sympathy. Pity involves sorrow or grief aroused by someone else's suffering. Sympathy involves feeling affected by whatever affected the other person. Respect or unconditional positive regard is expressed by affirming and appreciating clients without condoning their harmful behaviors. Looking for the good, regard for thoughts, feelings, and abilities, noticing, acknowledging, and highlighting clients' strengths, capabilities, resilience, coping ability, potential, and resources. Being polite and following appropriate cultural norms. And of course, you need to understand their culture before you can follow their cultural norms. Genuineness, being sincere and authentic, being real and allowing your humanness and uniqueness to be seen, being natural, honest, and forthright, admitting your mistakes. Offering advice, it is inappropriate to offer advice until you have fully understood the people involved, their challenges and situation, and collaborated with the clients on setting goals. Offering advice before you know what the clients have already tried can be experienced as not respecting their strengths and their capacities. Reassuring in an attempt to reduce pain. The pain clients feel about their problem can motivate them to solve the problem. Negating the importance of the client's pain can lead them to feel that they are not fully understood or respected. For example, telling someone it will all work out in the end. Don't worry about it indicates the capacity to stop worrying on command. And of course, that is a common mistake. Okay, so what are we doing? We're offering advice too early, and we're reassuring our clients before we have a clue what's going on. Another common mistake, offering excuses. What you need to do is help your clients set goals, asking leading questions, questions that give advice, and of course that's not something that you want to do. Dominating through teaching. Teaching is dominating or pushy. It can suggest one right way. Communicating in a dominating way tends to invite people to feel shamed or rebellious and to withdraw or become defensive and argue. This implies there is only one way to resolve any issue, and of course, you're the one that knows what it is. This is very common. This is very common with people who have just finished their PhD. They think that since they have those letters behind their name, they have the ability to create um, solutions for everything. And the answer is no, you're not. No, you don't. Labeling, a sophisticated way to judge, criticize, or blame another person and is not helpful. Interrogating, why questions are particularly problematic because they sometimes imply judgment and also invite defensiveness. Core interpersonal qualities, developing your ability to be empathic, reading novels and professional literature about people from different backgrounds, joining in activities, talking to and getting to know others who have different experiences, attending classes or workshops focused on specific groups of people, traveling to different countries and spending time with local residents, doing volunteer work in communities or neighborhoods very different from your own, watching popular movies about people who are different from you. And this is a good way to learn about other people. If you've never been off the reservation and you don't know what white people are like, then one of the things that you need to do is watch movies about white people. Or if you don't know anything about African Americans, then you need to watch movies about African Americans, with the understanding that they're trying to sell you something, and what they're trying to sell you is that this is accurate. So you need to be careful. You need to gauge whether something is correct or not. You can imagine that that some movies or television shows are fairly stereotypic, and of course that's you need to be careful of that. You certainly don't want a stereotype about anybody. Okay, we're going to talk about. I've got a whole list of movies. One of the things that I've been thinking of doing is we have a class called cinema therapy. Uh, my idea is that uh, even though cinema therapy has kind of gone out of vogue, the reality is that we have a lot of people who have problems who live in an alternate reality, and the alternate reality is due to uh, media, the media, television, movies, Facebook, TikTok. Uh, I can't think of any other right off the top of my head. Anyway, my point is that I've been thinking of putting a class together called Cinema Therapy. I thought I would change the name. Right now it's Cinema Therapy, but I'd like it. And actually, this was very popular back around the turn of the 21st century, 2000, 2005. Nobody has written a textbook since 2015. But I think I can find a lot of information. I think this would be very helpful. You can talk to your client and say, well, why don't you watch this movie and see if it communicates with you, and the next time you come in, we'll discuss the movie, and it'll give you a good hook into if they're suffering from depression or anxiety. or obsessive compulsive disorder, whatever you're treating, agoraphobia, you can the film will show them what it looks like to other people for somebody to have agoraphobia or depression or whatever. Um, I don't know. I don't know if this is going to work or not. But there are people out there that they live in a alternate reality. They live in video games. They live on Facebook. My wife spends probably 2, 3 hours a day going through her Facebook file, and it drives me crazy when she says, "Oh, you can't plant trees at this time. I just read on Facebook that if you know this is a bad time to plant your tree." And of course, that's fine if it's accurate, but of course it doesn't always have to be accurate. Okay, my point is that sometimes we should be able to watch movies to understand other people. It will give us a hint as to what those people are like. Movies that show diversity, second generation Mexican American girl. This is Real Women Have Curves, about a Hispanic Mexican American female. Hoop Dreams is about inner city African American males. Inner city white boy who was sexually abused, Mystic River. And I think the abused person is Sean Penn, if I'm not mistaken. White teenage girl who was mentally ill, Girl Interrupted. If you've seen this, this was Angelina Jolie's first movie. I think it was Winona Ryder's first adult film, or not adult film. That made it sound like it's pornography. It's her first adult role. How's that? White boy in a neo-Nazi group, American History X. These are all kind of dated. Bend It Like Beckham. This was actually Keira Knightley's first movie. It's a second generation Indian girl living in London. And of course, it's about the Indian girl, not really about Keira Knightley, but it's about her trying uh, to balance what she wanted to do with her traditions. People with developmental disabilities. I Am Sam. Radio. I just saw this the other day. It's a really good movie. It's a true story. It's about people with developmental disabilities, and it has Cuba Gooding Jr. in it, and he's the individual with the problem. And it's also in the South, and he's African American, of course. So he's dealing with a white, a primarily white football team. Mexican American family living in Los Angeles. My family, mi familia. A white rural family dealing with issues related to poverty, autism, obesity, depression, and suicide. What's Eating Gilbert Grape? And that's Johnny Depp. Was one of his first adult roles. An African American family facing serious illness and death. Soul Food. Sleeping with the Enemy, women struggling with partners who are physically abusive, and this is really a fascinating book. It's one of Julia Roberts' first movies. Women struggling with partners who are physically abusive. Tina, What's Love Got to Do with It? It's about Tina and Ike Turner and their relationship. He was fairly abusive. People facing challenges related to aging. The Notebook. On Golden Pond, people facing challenges related to aging. Driving Miss Daisy, people facing challenges related to aging. People facing challenges related to aging. Iris, I've never seen this one. It's about wow, look at those eggs. I hope those aren't rocks. Her necklace. My goodness, that's must be heavy. 28 Days. This is a really good movie about alcoholism and an individual trying to break her habit of alcoholism. Losing Isaiah, women with drug and alcohol problems, and that is Halle Berry has the problem, and Jessica Lange has her son. Uh, she's a drug addict. Halle Berry is, and Jessica Lange adopts her son. When a Man Loves a Woman with Andy Garcia and Meg Ryan, women with drug and alcohol problems. Gracie's Choice, women with drug and alcohol problems. I've actually never seen this one. Boys Don't Cry, people dealing with issues related to discrimination and sexual orientation. This is Hilary Swank's first Oscar, I think. She is a lesbian, um, and she is beaten to death, if I remember correctly. Oh, great! I've just told you the whole story. Boys on the Side, people dealing with issues related to discrimination and sexual orientation. Philadelphia, this is Tom Hanks' first Academy Award. It's people dealing with issues related to discrimination and sexual orientation. Um, uh, Antonio Banderas is his boyfriend. Um, Tom Hanks' character is dying of AIDS, and he gets fired from his job because he has AIDS, and it is the job of I can't think of his name, the the lawyer to get him off. Geez, I remembered. I remembered his boyfriend. Of course, he's gay, and his boyfriend is Antonio Banderas. Philadelphia. Denzel Washington, I'm sorry. He plays the lawyer. Brokeback Mountain, people dealing with issues related to discrimination and sexual orientation. This is Heath Ledger and Jake Gyllenhaal. The Crying Game, people dealing with issues related to discrimination and sexual orientation. This is from England. Really good movie. Desert Hearts, people dealing with issues related to discrimination and sexual orientation. I've actually never seen this movie. Longtime Companion, people dealing with issues related to discrimination and sexual orientation. This is another one I've never seen. Sean Penn's Milk. Harvey Milk was a politician, and he was gay, and he was murdered by an individual. I can't think of the guy's name that killed him, but he killed him and the mayor. He murdered Harvey Milk, and he murdered the mayor because Harvey Milk was gay. The interesting thing about the actual, not the movie, but the actual case was that the defense that he brought up was the fact that he'd been eating Twinkies, and the sugar had done something to his mind, and all the preservatives in Twinkies had done something to him. As Good as It Gets, a white man who is dealing with obsessive compulsive disorder. He's also, well, yeah, he's dealing with obsessive compulsive disorder. Beautiful Mind, a white man who is suffering from schizophrenia. This is one of Russell Crowe's first movies in the United States, anyway. White woman who is deaf, Children of a Lesser God. This is a pretty old movie. Marlee Matlin is actually deaf. She does a really good job. This is Daniel Day-Lewis's first Academy Award, My Left Foot. Plays an individual suffering from cerebral palsy. The Green Mile, Men in Prison. Men in Prison, Dead Man Walking. This is a really good movie. Has Sean Penn and Susan Sarandon in it. Men in Prison, The Shawshank Redemption. People Who Are Homeless, The Saint of Fort Washington. Monsters Ball, The Struggles of a Single African American Mother. This is Heath Ledger's last movie. No, it's not. He made the Joker after this. Has Billy Bob Thornton and Halle Berry in it. The Soloist, African American man who is homeless, has schizophrenia, and is a talented musician. The Joy Luck Club, it's a second generation. It's about second generation Asian American women. Challenges in a Taiwanese family: eat, drink, man, woman. Amrika, divorced Palestinian woman and her son. The odd thing about, well, it's not the odd thing, but in the Muslim world, they divorce is very rare. Rhapsody in August, Japanese children visit grandmother who lived through the bombing of Nagasaki. Teacher in a low-income Hispanic neighborhood, stand and deliver. Four Little Girls, challenges African Americans have faced in the past, and it's about the bombing of a church in Birmingham, a black church in Birmingham. Challenges African Americans have faced, Do the Right Thing. This is one of Spike Lee's first movies. Actually, it's his second or third movie, and that's Spike Lee, of course. Ghosts of Mississippi, challenges African Americans have faced. The Long Walk Home, challenges African Americans have faced. Upper middle class Danish multi-generational family dealing with incest and violence. The Celebration. Yesterday, a rural African family, both parents are HIV positive. This is actually about Africa. White man diagnosed with Lou Gehrig's disease, Tuesdays with Maury. White man diagnosed as an autistic savant, Rain Man with Dustin Hoffman and Tom Cruise. Lars and the Real Girl, a white man dealing with mental illness. Cyrus, a single white mother who has devoted her life to her 21-year-old son. The Diving Bell and the Butterfly, white men adapting to being mute and paralyzed. Pieces of April, white middle-class family, oldest daughter estranged from family, mother ill and dying, aging grandparents. This one has Katie Holmes in it. Precious, this one won an Academy Award. African-American teenager living on welfare, pregnant as a result of incest. I saw this one the other day. This is a really good movie if you want to understand how the Asian Indian mindset works. First generation Indian man, the namesake, fantastic movie, really good. City Island, white blue-collar family dealing with a grown son recently released from prison. As It Is in Heaven, a white Swedish community with issues related to the impact of bullying on a child and domestic violence. Winter's Bone, a poor white Appalachian family, father missing and mother mentally ill. Goodnight, Mr. Tom, white British family, single, mentally ill mother, neglect and abuse of children. Children of Heaven, a poor Iranian family struggling to manage. American Beauty, oh, this is old. Family facing challenges. Okay. Lost in Translation, challenges faced by white adults. Up in the Air, challenges faced by white adults, has George Clooney in it. I can't remember who the female leads are. Life as a House, challenges faced by white adults. $1 Million Baby, challenges faced by white adults. Challenges faced by white adults, Edward Scissorhands. Geez, that's an old movie too. Never actually seen this movie. the premise is just so silly to me that they replaced his fingers with scissors. Eternal sunshine of the spotless mind, challenges faced by white adults. American Indian adults seeking understanding on a road trip to rescue a relative. If this is Powwow Highway, and I've never actually seen this movie. Smoke Signals, I've seen this one a million times. American teenagers from Washington seek understanding on a road trip to find their father, and their father's on the Navajo reservation, if I'm not mistaken, and they're from they're oh, I can't think of the name of the reservation up there. Colville. They're from Colville. Skins, American Indian adults battle greed and displacement in Sioux country. And that's it. So I'll talk to you guys later. Get your get your characters done if you can. Fill out the history form. You need to write a paper, and I want you to write the paper on whatever your problem, the character's problem is, so you understand it better. Okay, so I'll see you guys next week, or I'll talk to you next week.